What's up, guys? How we doing? So, man, Supercross. It was different last night. It was Supercross turned Endurocross. I've got more on Jason Anderson, and this story's about to get a little bit weird. But Cooper Webb showed determination. Dear Lord, that is what we see out of our champions. If you haven't tried Nano-Extreme, I'm telling you, if you suffer from pain, order some Nano-Extreme. Use code Cooksey and get free shipping. Head over to Nano-Extreme. This is the best pain cream ever. I think it works better than any pain pill I've ever used. And unfortunately, I've used a lot of those things. Check out Complete Racing Solutions. Coach Rob has programs for everybody, and they're based on science. He doesn't run these kids into the ground. He builds them into stronger, better athletes. So hit up Complete Racing Solutions if you want your kid to develop into a strong, durable racer, or just a good person who just wants to get into shape. Check out Complete Racing Solutions. Alias MX dropped their Ombre collection, and I know you probably couldn't see it last night, but Justin Starling was out there wearing it. If you want to get it, you got to go. There's a limited amount, so head over to Alias MX and get your Ombre gear.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
The Jason Anderson situation has just gotten a little bit weird. We were all terrified, wondering, is his daughter okay? Is his wife okay? Nobody wants a family emergency, and we were all pulling for him. I heard from somebody very close to the family that both the wife and daughter are in good health. Jason, on the other hand, is dealing with something. And, he hasn't been the same since he got sick. I believe it was San Diego when he rode through an illness. And these things wear on you. And this affects the guys, I hate to say this, the guys that are a little bit older. He's over 30 now. When you run yourself down, and I just got to ask you guys, have you done a trip across America where you go on a plane, you go somewhere and you come back? You're exhausted, you're beat down, and these guys have to do that every single week. Then you mix in the high intensity training that they're doing and the stresses of being a professional racer. While it looks glamorous, it is also damn difficult, especially with what they've got on their shoulders. So I'm sure Jason Anderson is I'm not thinking he's not faking this illness. He's definitely dealing with something. But I'll tell you what, if Kawasaki had re-signed him, I'll bet he'd still be in the pits. And that's where it gets a little bit weird. You get a guy like Chase Sexton who signs with another team, but he still gives his current team 110% effort. That is not the way it works for everybody. And I don't blame Anderson. I don't. Because if they're not going to commit to you, why should you risk your health and run yourself down just because they only have one bike out there? Jorge Prado was supposed to be there the entire year. He hurt his shoulder. So now they're counting on Jason Anderson to carry the torch for the whole team. And he's doing this while he's fighting this, chronic illness, and he just hasn't been able to recover, but he's pushing through, taking one for the team. And then you find out the team's not going to re-sign you and they're going to fire you. Yeah, I understand his frustration. So for him to pull out of the series and get healthy, good for Jason Anderson. He has to take care of himself, because clearly nobody else will. And Jason Anderson is not alone in this type of situation. Remember Cooper Webb? Remember how he left KTM? It didn't go well. These guys can rush back from injuries and they can take these unnecessary risks, and they'll absolutely do it if they think they have a job or they're doing it for a reason. But if you're doing it just to run yourself down, just to take one for the team on a team that's sending you packing, I'm with Jason Anderson. Go home, get healthy, do whatever you need to do. I've heard he's talking to some multiple other teams, trying to figure out what he's going to do. I think he'd be a great fit on the Ducati team, and I hope that they go that direction. Problem with Ducati is remember last year there was all this talk that they had all this money to spend and they're going to go out and get a top dollar guy and spend like $10 million in salary or some crazy number. That's out the window. Sounds like they're coming in way, way smaller than they had kind of anticipated. And they're not planning on paying a whole bunch. So anyone who goes to that team, and I think that will probably be Justin Barcia, because you can get him at a major discount. And the other thing about Jason Anderson is he's still a guy who believes he can win races and should win races. Going to Ducati on their first year, I'm not saying you're waving the white flag, but does anyone expect that team to get a win in their first season in Supercross on a brand new bike? I don't think so. Whoever goes there is going to have to do a lot of development. They're going to have to work really hard, and their results are going to suffer a little bit. What I'm hearing on Anderson is he's going through the options right now, and I think the best option for him right now might to just be, there's not a lot of seats on the factory teams, but there's a private team that wants to step up. They can get some factory equipment for him, but if they can secure enough funding, man, I'm telling you, that's the place for El Hombre. He is a personality. He doesn't like that corporate atmosphere. I really think him on a private team with his own sponsors, if they can find the funding to do that, man, we could see El Hombre looking really good and taking it to these corporate teams. So stay tuned on that one. I think we're going to see Jason Anderson take the role that a lot of other guys have taken that are high dollar guys when they can find their own team. Chad Reed did it. There's lots of guys who've done that where they go out on their own. You know, sometimes they partner with an existing team and then they rent factory equipment, but they just bring in, hopefully if they can bring in Monster or some other big sponsors to help them out. I think you're going to see Jason Anderson come out there and be just a privateer hero next year. And it's hard to call a guy a privateer when he gets factory equipment, but he's not going to be part of the corporate atmosphere, and he's going to be on a team that lets El Hombre be El Hombre. And speaking of personalities in this sport, how about Aaron Plessinger? The sport is better when Aaron Plessinger is involved. This dude embraces the storyline. He embraces his personality. He's got the mullet. He's got the cowboy hat. He's always smiling. He's not afraid to tell you whatever he thinks. Going out there, winning the race in the mud, which is, you know, as Ricky would say, not surprised. It is kind of surprising. Anytime a guy who's only won one Supercross in his entire life wins again, even in the mud, that is a surprise. But this guy's value extends far beyond what he can do on the track. If this guy can put in good results on the track, he's a home run for anyone to be around. He helps keep the team atmosphere loose. He's a guy that you want on your team for chemistry. Whoever you bring in, as long as AP's there, you'll have a good pit atmosphere. And the pit atmosphere does matter. I mean, look at Jason Anderson. He left Kawasaki, and a lot of that had to do with pit atmosphere. Knowing guys have your back and being around them. AP loosens things up. He is more valuable than his results show. And if he can get results, oh my God, you got yourself a home run in AP. And I'm so glad that he is staying with KTM. Like I said, it sounds like, I haven't seen the contract, but it sounds like KTM extended him. So he'll be staying there. That'll be a great place for him and whoever KTM decides to bring on the 450. Maybe Vial. I think it's Vial if he can clinch this title. But after last night's result, he's got some work to do. And I love AP playing to the crowd, going full WWE, moving the tough block, kind of like, you ever see the wrestlers, they like move the table and then jump, and he jumps in that puddle. He's much more than a racer. He is an entertainer. But I have to say, I was a little bit worried about him sloshing around in that puddle. This wasn't a typical rain race. This was freezing cold temperatures. That dirt isn't exactly sanitary. I hope he loads up on vitamins. I don't want to see this guy get sick, with 5 rounds left, and then, you only get 1 week off, and then they're right into outdoors. Getting sick right now would really be detrimental to his future. But hey, you know what? Whatever. AP, you do AP, and let's just cross our fingers that you don't get sick or anyone else does for riding in those conditions. Check out Ride Strap. Best goggles, glasses, get your red pill shirt. Just a great company that I am honored to partner with. Hit up ridestrap.com. If you're shipping anything, use Precision Transport, a family-owned business that really takes pride in moving your products, making sure they get there, make sure they get there safe, giving you tracking numbers. Hit up pretransport.com. I couldn't have been happier for Shane McElrath. This dude is one of the good dudes in the sport. And to see him get second place in a 450 main event, nobody had that on their bingo cards. Nobody. In fact, Yariv, the team owner, was scrambling. He didn't have funding and he couldn't find sponsors that believed enough in Shane McElrath on that 450 to get him on that bike for the whole season. It was hard. He moved mountains to make sure Shane McElrath got to ride in the 450 class. He is no longer eligible. He's a 250 specialist. He's the 250 Australian champion and the 250 World Supercross champion. That's where his bread and butter is. But he's riding this 450 better than he ever has. And for Yariv to make it happen for him, to win the heat race, to get second in the main, I couldn't be happier for these guys. And what I really like about Shane McElrath is he doesn't live the same lifestyle. I don't necessarily share all his beliefs, but what I respect, and this guy is who he says he is, and you got to respect that. He goes up there, he believes in, his religion, he takes it very seriously, and he lives that lifestyle. He's not just up there doing it for the microphone and thanking God and then going to drink beers. This guy lives that lifestyle. That's who Shane McElrath is. The world needs more authentic people who just, whether you believe the same things as him or not, the conviction that Shane McElrath has in, his religion, his life, his loyalty to his wife. He's a good human being, man. He really is. So I'm happy to see him get up there and succeeding later in his career. When at the end of last year, he bounced off of the Hep Suzuki team, then he went to the PRMX team. It looked like his career might have been done. I mean, he was on his way out, and now he's got this complete rejuvenation with this quad lock team and Yuriv bringing him in, and really just that team. I like what that team does, and I know there's been rumors of them at the practice track getting fired up, and Davalos has got that Latin American temper. But I'll tell you what, whatever they're doing over there, it's working. Keep doing it. In a sport where good people don't always finish on top, it sure is nice to see Shane McElrath and Yuriv getting their due up on that podium. Great job for even better people. Cooper Webb, the determination. This is a champion mindset. He went out there and he was having a horrible night. And all he had to do was, most guys in this situation, almost every other human being on earth would say, all right, we had a bad night. Let's salvage. We'll be either a little bit down to Chase or, just barely ahead of Chase after this, after having a bad result. Salvage it. Make sure you still finish the race. Instead, he goes full send, starts jumping the doubles. Woo! His last lap was 4 seconds faster than AP. It was much faster than everybody else on the track. He went around Chase Sexton like he was a lapper. Chase had to look to be like, are you serious? Are you really going that fast? And for these guys to protest him for jumping on the Red Cross, come on. On a night like this, the Red Cross shouldn't even be part of the scenario. Nobody's really jumping. The Red Cross was designed for Supercross races where you jump big jumps, triples, and stuff where it could really be dangerous and they're bringing people on the track. This is a mud race. You just let it go. At the speeds they were going, the red flag should have just been put in their pocket. You can throw the yellow, even though it looked brown. I mean, how are these guys supposed to even see these flags? This isn't a normal race. They are so focused. One little lapse of concentration to look over at a flag, and you're stuck, and your whole night could be over. To penalize anyone for Red Cross jumping in those conditions would have been absolutely egregious. And for these guys to cry about it is embarrassing. The only person I could see who probably should have got a penalty was Chase Sexton. When he cut all the way down that start line, come on, man, you can't cut out the whole section. That's what he did. That's what Justin Cooper did. Justin got a two-spot penalty. I didn't see Justin, so I don't know. If you're going to penalize anyone, Chase should have got a 2-position penalty for cutting the track that egregious. How about the big man out there, Benny Bloss? And I'm partial. I'm not even going to pretend. I am partial to the big dudes because I'm a big guy. And seeing a guy that's 6'5", 6'6" out there in Supercross is rare. So to see Benny Bloss on the factory beta getting, I believe that's their best finish in 7th place. That's pretty damn good on a bike in their second season. This is formerly known as an off-road bike, a trials bike, and that whole team should be proud at the effort they're putting in and the results they're getting. Shoot, you know what? If Anderson wants to look at a team, beta might not be a bad place to go. And like I said, mud races suck. They're so boring. I don't like watching them. You guys don't like watching them. They're awful. But to see Logan Leitzel, a guy who's never been in a 450 main event, make the main was awesome. But then to see him not only make the main, but ride out a top 10 finish, he got 9th place. Logan Leitzel in his first ever 450 main event appearance. I did an interview with him a year or two ago. Just a great dude. He's a good person to be around this sport. And on dry conditions, honestly, listen, Logan's good. And he almost has made some mains. He's gotten really close. But to see him get 9th place in a main event, it takes crazy conditions like that. So it's nice once in a while to get a mud race where we see guys like him get their due, Rod Bell in the 250 class, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. Good job, Logan Leitzel. You're the man. Soak it up because your name is in the history books as a top 10 finisher in 450 Supercross forever. Speaking of history, that might have been the worst broadcast that I've ever seen in this sport. The announcing was atrocious. Now, I've said live announcing is not easy. It is a tough job. And I don't fault these guys for stuttering or getting stuff wrong. What I fault them for is not giving their opinions. But Ricky Carmichael is the worst. Now, I don't think I'd be a very good announcer, but I promise you, I could do better than Ricky Carmichael. It's crazy that they keep trotting that little guy out there to just talk about how amazed he is at with these guys. He's talking like a fanboy. He's not a fanboy. He's the greatest to ever do this. You're not amazed. You're amazed at things that you can't do yourself. I'm amazed because I can't do it. He did it. So to hear him do it sounds disingenuous. It just sounds fake. And that's what he is. He's just a fake dude. And he's not a good guy off the track. So get Ricky the hell out of there. Anyway, thank you, members. I appreciate everything. B&R Bob, congrats on your helmet. That is shipping soon. All of you guys are entered to win a membership to Coach Rob. And the great thing about Coach Rob is if you're already a member, he's going to send you a check for the amount of 1 year, $360. He wants to make sure you get your